Here's why there can't be a third option between creation or evolution. In a world where the concept of absolute truth seems to be viewed as similar to belief in pink unicorns or fairy dust, Bible skeptics often seem more and more inclined to deal in the abstract or propose obtuse ideas rather than deal with concrete principles where discussions can advance and conclusions can be drawn. In the creation-evolution debate, I've sometimes seen this come up in some form of the question, well, what if it isn't creation or evolution? What if there's a third option we haven't discovered yet? Not to be confused with the idea of theistic evolution, where the questioner is wondering whether God initiated a naturalistic process to afterwards evolve an original creation. Rather, the person is really proposing an agnostic-sounding concept that they can't actually articulate, pleading ignorance to ideas perhaps not yet discovered. And I'm not bringing up objections like the idea that perhaps aliens seeded the earth and are perhaps our creators, because that doesn't solve anything. It simply pushes the question of ultimate origins out a step, as we could then ask whether the aliens evolved or whether they were created. Rather, it could be something other than creation or evolution idea, is an actual retreat to complete intellectual ignorance, a proposition of an undefined something they can't explain whatsoever. In logic, which many in our culture today seem to be increasingly unaware of, laws can help us think through concepts rationally to an absolute conclusion. And the law of the excluded middle states that for any proposition, either that proposition is true or its negation is true, because it excludes the middle ground between truth and falsity. Now, of course, any discussion can quickly die the death of 1,000 qualifications, and so some try to argue that if God used evolution to create, then there is a middle ground between creation or evolution. But to add the specificity needed to fully clarify the question, we could simply state, was the initial cause of everything we experience brought about by a creator, or was everything we experience caused by purely naturalistic processes? In other words, saying God used evolution is stating there is a creator. Saying naturalistic evolution is true excludes God from the equation, which is preferable for the atheist, as all thinking atheists have no choice but to believe in some form of evolution. And that statement is typically the trigger for whenever I've had someone propose the idea that perhaps there's a third option for the question of ultimate origins that we simply haven't discovered yet. My question back has always been, if you have a third option to either creation or evolution, please state it. And in over 20 years of speaking, I have never had an intellectually sound response from anyone, whether at a university, church, or any other place where I've spoken. Nor have I come across a good answer in any book I've read or any other presentation I've watched. Now, some have not really delved into the topic fully, so those declaring they don't know which of the two, creation or evolution, is more intellectually sound, needing more information or time to examine the data, would be legitimate. But it's not actually providing a third option. An analogy I've often used to show how weak this whole maybe there's a third option we haven't thought through of type argument is that of a police officer giving testimony regarding a first-degree murder trial to his superior. Police chief: well, officer, in your opinion, did Mr. Jones die from accidental causes or did someone kill him on purpose? Police officer: I believe neither, sir. Police chief: what? Police officer: you see, sir, I believe there may be a third way it could have happened. Police chief: oh, really? What is it? Please describe how you'd explain it to a jury. Police officer: oh, I really don't know, but there may be some way we just haven't thought of yet, and maybe someday we'll find it. Police chief: you're relieved of duty, officer. Can you imagine a police officer responding to his chief that way? That's because there can be no third way. The person was either killed by an intelligent, active agent, or they died because of natural causes or events. Hence, the law of the excluded middle. This attempted dodging of the whole creation-evolution debate makes you wonder, what would motivate someone to pose such an intellectually unsound proposition in the first place? Well, I personally believe, as the exposure of fake news, fake science, and long-hidden, deep-seated motivations in our educational systems in the West continue to be revealed to the average person, Long-held beliefs taken for granted are being re-examined by many, including belief in the story of evolution and millions of years. Evolution is increasingly being exposed as a subpar proposal for our origins, not even worthy of being called a true scientific theory. Many are seeing the true nature of the glass house the evolutionary story is based upon. However, the only logical alternative to it is belief in a creator God. And that truth is a truly fearful option for many who have openly mocked God for decades now. And so a retreat into incoherent and mindless meanderings is often preferable to exploring knowledge of the true creator God that they are accountable to. As Hebrews 11:6 says, "And without faith it is impossible to please him. For whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him." If you think there's a third option to the creation-evolution debate, make it make sense.